We've got your NFC home games for you today. Cincinnati at Minnesota, Dallas at Chicago, Las Vegas at Washington, Rams at Eagles, Atlanta at Carolina, New Orleans at Seattle, and Arizona at San Francisco. We'll also talk about Buffalo beating Miami 31-21 and much more. Injury updates that you need to know. Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Happy Friday, Dave and Jamie. You guys have a case of the Fridays?
What are the Fridays?
It's the opposite of the Mondays. You know, it's joy, it's excitement, anticipation for the weekend. Jamie got a fresh haircut. He's ready to hit the town running. It's that.
He's ready to watch his Florida Gators play football on Saturday night.
I'm not watching. Congratulations. You guys are great.
Oh, look at this guy.
You should watch. You should watch.
I promise you I will not watch.
Why?
Oh, I believe you that you won't watch, but
we have no chance.
I bet you'll look at your phone at least.
I bet you I won't.
That it's a close game. I'm going to text you during the game, and if it's a close game, I'm sure I'll hear back, and you'll say, "Yeah, I'm watching."
Let me rephrase. I will not watch unless somebody from Florida texts me.
So Dave, I was asking Dave online. We were chatting. I said, "Are you going to the game on Saturday?" And he said, "What did he say?" He said, I have tickets, but I'm giving them to Jamie so he can take his son." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Are you freaking kidding me? Of course I'm going to the game." He's like, "I'd never do that." So it was a nice thought, at least, even in sarcasm. Anyway,
I didn't have a great time. Enjoy the win.
Everybody's in a very good mood in the chat. So we welcome you to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Buffalo 31, Miami 21. Dave, major takeaways from what was a good competitive game until the late interception.
I thought this game went. I thought the game was going to go this way. I thought the Dolphins were going to be competitive, and they were. I'm a little worried about the Buffalo defense evolving into a shutdown defense. Maybe that's easy to say because they played without Ed Oliver and Matt Milano, and their cornerback depth is a little shaky right now. But typical Bills offense really hasn't changed that much from last year. A lot of James Cook, Josh Allen doing great things without high passing volume. I thought he'd throw a little bit more. Obviously thought my guy Keon Coleman would get more than 4 targets in the game. That stunk. Kincaid with some great plays in the game, more than made up for it and helped Buffalo out. And then for the Dolphins, maybe some encouraging signs for Waddle and Tyreek. But in the end, it's Tua and the offense making a mistake that the Bills capitalized on that cost them a chance to tie the game.
Jamie, your takeaways?
I mean, I agree mostly. It's one of those situations, I think, with Buffalo's passing game where 2 of 3 games Kincaid has been a little bit more involved, you know, when they've thrown the ball more than, 25 times. It was 27, 28 attempts for Allen. But I think in terms of the pass catchers, it's going to be tough to consider any of them must-start guys, aside from maybe Kincaid because of the position he plays. So Dave said something yesterday, which was interesting on HQ, that he put Hawkinson at tight end 12 because there was not anybody else really to put there. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that extent, right, Dave?
Yep.
And it's kind of like as I think we're now 3 weeks into the season, you're looking at who's involved, who has a chance to, be a playmaker, who has a chance to, maybe help your fantasy team. I think Kincaid's in that conversation at that position, but really from the rest of the guys, it's it will be interesting to see if Coleman is dropped in 10-team leagues. I don't think you should drop him in 12-team leagues. And Shakir was in the portion of the waiver wire of if he's available, Adam, mostly for 10-team leagues on our site. I'm sure he's available on other sites. 2 of 3 solid games for him, so can he be somebody like we saw last year? But I think Dave said it best. It's kind of just the same Bills offense that we are used to watching.
And once again, Dalton Kincaid is having a pretty high target per route run rate, 23%. If you remember what I was saying about Tucker Kraft, if you want to be a 13-point per game tight end, you pretty much have to get to 23 usually percent target per route run rate. And that's where Kincaid is, which leads the team. But he doesn't really run that many routes. He's running only 61% of the routes. Same problem last year. I think it might be a little higher this year, the route participation rate.
It was pretty high last night. He had 20 routes on, looks like, it was 28 pass attempts. So 20 of 28.
That's basically, well, that's 75%, right? So that is better.
But he still played only about half the snaps.
But they just spread the ball around so much. That's kind of what I was getting at. It's look at the target shares. It's just so evenly distributed, basically, from Coleman down to Palmer. Okay. All right. So a few questions here. One, James Cook. We valued him as a round 3 guy. He's going into the week the number 1 running back in fantasy, and he scores almost 20 points. So he might come out of the week as the number 1 running back in fantasy. Are we buying that James Cook is a top 5 running back?
Yep. How could you not?
Agreed.
Okay. Are we buying that Tyreek Hill is a must start? He's probably a must start because the state of the wide receivers, but do you think he's got a great season in him? Do you think he's got a good season? What do we think about Tyreek Hill going forward?
I think anytime he has a productive game, you should be looking to sell just because of the Dolphins' state right now of potential blowing it up. And if they do blow it up, does trading him help him or does it hurt him? So if he gets, and it's a very difficult contract to trade, so keep that in mind. But if they do trade him, the 2 teams that you've heard are Kansas City and Pittsburgh. Well, if Kansas City's fully healthy and fully everybody's available, meaning Rashee Rice is playing, is that a good thing for them? Are they, adding to their team because it's great for the Chiefs? Is that great for his fantasy value just because he's being reunited with Patrick Mahomes? And the other team would be Pittsburgh. Is that a situation where you think he's going to maximize his fantasy value?
No.
So I would think that if you can trade him at this point, so, revisit your Cortland Sutton, Tyreek Hill trade. If Sutton has another good game this week, who would you rather have rest of the season?
Well, I turned it down. After week 1, I was all about trading Tyreek for Sutton. I think it's honestly the domestic violence allegations. I don't know where this is going to go. The NFL is obviously notoriously slow when it comes to these types of things, but I can't completely eliminate the idea that he gets suspended. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to get suspended, but it's on
the fact that they mentioned it on the broadcast last night was a little telling.
They did or did not?
They did.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but they're very even to me. I will say this, and I'll see if you guys agree with me. He looks really good out there. How many near big plays did they have with him? He had a drop. Wasn't an easy play. He had a drop on a deep ball. He was wide open on that out route, and Tua sailed it over his head out of bounds. Tua's been awful on these throws, but Tyreek Hill is still destroying cornerbacks, getting open, doing backflips. I'm sorry. I think he looks great out there. So I'm encouraged. And as I mentioned when I was watching the tape, like especially against the Colts, it was a bad game for him. They have had opportunities with Tyreek Hill. He still is getting open. I still think he could have a big season. And so far, 2 of 3 games have been good. So I don't think he's washed up. I will just say that. In fact, I'm adamant that he is not. I still
to answer your question, if he stays, no trade, no anything, just he's on the field with the Miami Dolphins. Yes, he's a must-start receiver.
Is he a must-start receiver if it's Zach Wilson at quarterback?
No.
Probably so, right?
No.
It doesn't get any better.
That's bad. Like
I still think that if he's going to command the most targets and he can make plays after the catch, and Zach Wilson might be able to find him a few times deep. Not each week, but like over the course of a month, maybe. I think you'll still start him. Maybe not with the same type of confidence, but you said it. Like Tua hasn't been playing well.
No.
How big of a downgrade is it really going to be from Tua to Zach Wilson? Could it be a total disaster? I don't know if it'll be that bad.
Do you agree with my assessment though? That
yeah. He definitely isn't washed. He's playing great. He's got a good target share. He just needs more accurate throws going his way. There's something I can look up real quick. Come back to me on this.
And then there's Waddle, who just feels like you've been pretty lucky if you've been starting Jalen Waddle.
It seemed like he was going to be a dud until the touchdown.
5 catches, 39 yards.
Catches on the last drive, or the second to last drive.
Achane is just
he looked good though when they threw it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's good.
Catchable target rates for Tyreek Hill in his 3 games. Against the Colts, it was 83.3. Bills last night, 80%. I'm going out of order. I'm sorry, sue me. 85.7% for New England. You'd still prefer that catchable target rate to be higher.
Right.
Mid-80s isn't great.
All right. And that would be Thursday Night Football. Na-na-na-na-na-na. Football fans. Bills are bringing playoff energy when they're out there. You need to bring that playoff energy to your pro football bets all season long. This Pro Football Boost Pack gives you 3 ways to boost your payout on a winning bet. Just log into your BetMGM account to receive your boost pack, and then place any pro football bet and apply one of the tokens. And make sure you bet up to the minimum stake odds and legs specified on the token. And if your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. From opening kickoffs to game-winning drives, this Pro Football Boost Pack is your ticket to unforgettable moments this season. So don't wait on the sidelines. Join the action with BetMGM. By the way, if you haven't signed up, use the bonus code FANTASY, will you? News and notes. Are you at this point expecting Brock Purdy for the 49ers against Arizona?
It's clearly trending in the right direction. And it's funny because I have a couple of Burrow leagues where Jared Goff was available. So I picked up Goff as the long-term answer, and I'm waiting for my short-term answer for this week. And I'm kind of, and Purdy's available in a couple of these leagues too. So I'm kind of just waiting to see if he plays or not, because I'll pivot to Mac Jones also, because I think the matchup's fantastic.
Okay, and Arizona very beat up in the secondary. Jaden Daniels, maybe he'll practice today. You guys right now are ranking Marcus Mariota. That's one of the games we'll talk about today. Justin Fields is out. At running back, Tyrone Tracy was limited with a calf injury. Josh Jacobs was limited. I would assume these guys are going to play, but DeAndre Swift, Dave, he's been limited. Are you concerned about his availability, and should we add Kyle Monangai one way or the other?
I would stash Monangai only if you have the open roster spot. But otherwise, I think DeAndre Swift is going to be fine.
That's the game of the week. Yeah.
You picked the right game.
Put down for the cat. Yeah, what? Come on. It's the game of the week, Dave. And Chicago Pizza Sticks. Hey.
That was the least creative way to spring the game of the week song.
Wait, why?
Like ever. Well, first of all, it took you like 7 minutes to hit the button.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, right. So first of all, you should always have that ready to go. And it wasn't great. You're like, DeAndre Swift has been limited, Dave. What do you think that means? Like, there were 100 different ways. Like, I can tell that Jamie had no hand whatsoever in helping you come up with a way to get me on the game of the week.
Oh my gosh! Let me read my text message. There's only one.
He texted you, ask him about DeAndre Swift being limited. I'm sure he won't see that coming.
Dallas, Chicago, do it with Swift injury. Ask him and then play it.
Yep.
Then I'm disappointed in both of you.
That is so funny. I was going to
do the slate is terrible aside from this game.
No, I knew which game it was going to be, but
Monday night.
Since we're talking about what we sent each other in G-Chat, I sent Adam the perfect way he could have gotten me on game of the week.
Here's how to get me.
Yeah, you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Yeah, well, you suck at it if this is what you're going to do. Both of you suck at it. So I'm challenging you both to be more creative moving forward. Otherwise, I'm going to crap all over it every time.
In all seriousness, though,
if he's active, you're starting him number 2 running back.
All right. So Basil Tootin was limited. Zach Charbonnet missed practice. If we look at, you know what, if I just skip ahead and just say, who are the players that we're worried about missing this week's game? Obviously Purdy, obviously Daniels, but also Charbonnet has to be at the top of this list, right? He might legitimately miss the game.
If he misses the game, then if you weren't already excited enough to start Walker after what he did last week, you'll go bonkers to do it against New Orleans.
And
I guess you got to still put Worthy in this category.
I would say Ibuka, right?
Yes,
big time.
Ibuka missing practice. By the way, Pete Carroll wants to give Ashton Genty more carries, but Chris Godwin not going to play this week. Could be back next week, though. Now, we talked about Jets Bucks yesterday, and Heath's not that concerned about Mike Evans. You guys have Evans, I think, around 24th. The setup is this is going to be the 3rd straight week where he's going to likely get shadowed by a very good cornerback. If Ibuka's out, how much is that going to change your ranking of Mike Evans?
He'll go up a couple spots, obviously.
Where do you have him now?
Like 20th.
Yeah, I've got him outside of my top 24 right now. And he might crack the top 24 if Ibuka's out. But I just think it makes it so much easier for the Jets to plan against Mike Evans.
It's not like he's not going to have the same sauce problem.
Right. And it's exactly what the Lions did, what the Lions did to the Bucs last year when Aaron Glenn was coordinating their defense. They took away Mike Evans in that game.
Interesting.
And I can't help but think that they're going to do it again in this game.
We got to throw Juwan Jennings in this mix of guys we're concerned about missing the game, right? He's been missing practice. And that's about it. Lad McConkey practiced in full. Josh Downs practiced in full. At tight end, are you guys projecting? Oh, Tucker Kraft. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, we do.
Do you expect Dallas Goedert to play?
Not as of
now.
Isaiah Likely.
Trending in the right direction. We'll know Saturday.
Evan Ingram, he could miss the game. He's been out with a back injury. Tyler Warren was limited. He went from not practicing to limited, so that's a good sign. And then Tucker Kraft. Are we expecting Tucker Kraft to play against the Browns?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Tweaked his knee in practice yesterday. Where would you rank Musgrave if Kraft were out?
Outside the top 12.
Yeah,
sure. In the 15-ish range or in
he'd be lower than that.
I mean, I guess if you really want to take a chance on him because of his opportunity, you can probably guess. You probably think he'll be in the range of Hunter Henry and Brenton Strange and those type of guys.
Alrighty, that's Luke Musgrave if Tucker Kraft is out. And just stay tuned for the mailbag. I guess we can hit that game. Hopefully we'll have an update. All right, so if you missed the mailbag, then you can watch or listen to FFT Express on Sunday morning when we will have all these updates. And you can join us from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern for our Starter Sit show on youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. Usually it's 11:30. We're going to go 2 hours this upcoming Sunday morning, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. We will be right back with one question for each game.
Sunday, you can count on CBS Sports getting down with the fantastic slate of games. But first, a little fun when we throw it back to celebrate 50 years of the NFL today. Count on Sunday with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, one question for each game. Cincinnati's at Minnesota. The Vikings so far are giving up the third fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. Rome Odunze had 37 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore had 3 for 68. Drake London had 3 for 49 on 4 targets. Starter sit T. Higgins, Dave Richard.
I don't feel bad about starting T. Higgins. I might lower expectations, but I view him as a number 2 wide receiver still.
In the games with Jake Browning in 2023, Higgins averaged more fantasy points per game, more PPR points per game than Jamar Chase did.
I do have to Azer stat you, though, because if you only look at the games he played with Jamar Chase, it was pretty discouraging, in my opinion. He had
2 big games, and I think he played 5. He had 2 big games and 3 bad ones.
I don't think so. I think I only had 3 games where they all played together healthy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the totality.
Yeah, no. Oh, he was great when Chase was out, but 3 games where they were healthy, 3 catches for 36 yards on 3 targets, 2 catches for 72 yards on 4 targets. Then he had this game against Minnesota where he had 4 catches, 61 yards, and 2 targets. Minnesota, by the way. 4 catches, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. But it was a good game. It was not a great game until Jamar Chase left with an injury in the 4th quarter. After that, he had 2 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. So he had 5 targets and about 27 yards, I think, and a touchdown in the first 3 quarters of the game with Jamar Chase. And he didn't really get a lot of involvement last week with Jake Browning. So I've got my eye on it. As I mentioned, Jake Brown, they were throwing to Tyler Boyd a lot. They were throwing to Tanner Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
last week, Mitchell Tinsley caught a touchdown.
Yeah, hopefully it's a little more concentrated. So you don't like Mike Evans, Dave? You like Higgins or Evans?
Yeah, I would start Higgins over Evans.
Jamie, Higgins or Evans?
Higgins.
All right. Dallas at Chicago. Start everyone?
I wouldn't
almost
start Luther Burden. I wouldn't start Jalen Tolbert. I wouldn't start the DSTs.
You wouldn't start Colston Loveland, would you?
No, but Ben Johnson said something during his press conference this week about how he was questioned about putting his tight ends on the field a lot and then not throwing to them. And he said, that's something I'm working on. So don't give up on Loveland. He's in the same boat as Keon Coleman.
I'm tempted to start Caleb Williams over Mahomes, but I'm not going to do it. I don't think you guys have it ranked that way. You have Mahomes ahead, right?
They're very close for me. Mahomes is 6 and Williams is 8.
Both
Okay.
top 10. But you'd expect Mahomes to be there.
Yeah, just, you could see the Chiefs kind of running away with an easy victory. This game should be a shootout, Dallas at Chicago, but still have too many mistakes, inaccuracies from Caleb, I think. Still, he's a good start, no question.
Yeah, I'm excited for Caleb Williams this week.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. In fact, it's the game of the week. Yeah. Las Vegas at Washington. Can you start the Commanders players if Mariota is at QB?
I will still start Debo and Ertz.
So, first of all, that means you still prefer Debo to McLaurin at this point.
At this point, yes.
Yep.
How much of a difference does it make in your rankings if Mariota's at QB?
Not much.
Oh, they're lower than they would be if it were Jaden Daniels. Like, neither one is in the top 24. They both could be around there if it's JD under center. It's the Raiders defense. They aren't very good.
They haven't been that bad so far, actually. It's been kind of surprising. I don't know if they're hanging by a thread here. Who's your favorite wide receiver in this Washington-Las Vegas game, by the way, real quick?
Jacoby Myers by a good margin.
It's Jacoby.
He's off to an encouraging start. Rams are at the Eagles. Starter sit A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
I think you got to consider them low-end number 2 receivers at best. Just looking at the situation. A lot of conversation clearly in Philadelphia. I believe this morning they already met with the media. And A.J. Brown was talking about his success against, I forget the cornerback for the Rams.
Emmanuel Forbes.
Yep. And he said, that's the least of my problems right now. He said he's just trying to get the offense going. He wasn't really complaining, but, we're kind of at that point where you could start to hear the frustration. So I hope there's a squeaky wheel game coming. I mean, the best thing that could happen is that the Rams jump out to a lead here and, the Eagles are forced to throw. But until we see that, you can't call A.J. Brown even a must-start receiver. So he's a little tough to trust.
Okay. I got some numbers on that coming up when we preview that game. Atlanta's at Carolina. Is Drake London, this is a silly question, but is Drake London still a must-start?
He is this week. Carolina's defense, their secondary has been playing okay, but their pass rush hasn't been great. I think they have 1 sack through 2 games. So there should be plenty of time for Penix to locate and throw to Drake London, certainly more than last week.
It's a good thing he's not Drake London Jr. because Carolina so far has held Brian Thomas Jr. and Marvin Harrison Jr. to a combined 3 catches for 38 yards on 12 targets.
Is it that they held them to that or circumstances and game script? And
I can't answer that.
Play.
But I can't answer that.
Do they play the Giants at all?
Who, Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's good for Tyrone Tracy Jr. What about the Seahawks?
I don't know. I don't know their schedule.
Okay. Ken Walker the third will be okay. All right.
They do play the Seahawks in week 17.
No. New Orleans at Seattle. Cooper Kupp.
Michael Penix Jr.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, you're right. New Orleans at Seattle. Cooper Kupp or Chris Olave?
Olave.
Olave by a small margin.
Okay. Do you like those guys, either of them better than the Eagles receivers?
No.
And Arizona's at San Francisco. Rank the wide receivers in this game.
Marvin Harrison Jr., Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall.
Pearsall, Jennings, Marv.
Oh. Go on, elaborate, because this is our last game, so we might not get to it till like an hour and 45 minutes.
It's completely based on Arizona's secondary being thinned out by injuries last week. I thought Mac Jones played well last week. The offensive line did a nice job protecting him. And I don't think the Cardinals defense is anywhere close to where people thought that they'd be. So good opportunities for both of those guys to hit some chunk plays. And in the case of Jennings, like, how do you argue with what his target volume has been dating back to last year? So I think they're both number 2 wide receivers. Maybe I'm a little too aggressive on Pearsall still, but I look at them and I see the matchup and I think it's going to be a good game for both of them, no matter who the quarterback is.
I just wonder which one will stand out above the rest. And I think in the case of Marvin, I expect San Francisco to play with the lead in this game. So Arizona chasing and Marvin getting a few more opportunities this week than we've seen the last couple of games.
Yeah, and let me back that up with something here, because the Cardinals are 2-0. They led by 10 points and by 18 points going into the fourth quarter of their 2 games. They haven't thrown 30 passes in a game yet. Right now, the Cardinals are 23rd in pass rate, but they're actually, this is the same thing for the Chargers, right? It's like very similar trend. Cardinals are 23rd in pass rate, but they're 12th in the first 3 quarters. So if the 49ers can, even if it's not building a lead, just being in a tight competitive game where the Cardinals aren't trying to run the ball out, run the clock out, that could lead to more throws, more targets. Something I wanted to mention real quick, there's a trend that I absolutely hate for the 49ers wide receivers. If you think about the 49ers wide receivers, you think about yak, right? You think about easy targets, short yak after that.
Sure.
The 49ers so far they are tied for last in wide receiver targets of 5 or fewer air yards. Their wide receivers are running deep routes. They're getting targeted downfield. If the 49ers ever throw the ball short, it's almost always to Christian McCaffrey. And I don't love that. I mean, it's like a high degree of difficulty every time you're throwing to Ricky Pearsall, and it's annoying. So, and I don't think it's a fluke necessarily. You're not getting the layups from this offense for the wide receivers. All right, that's an early trend that we're keeping an eye on here. Cincinnati's at Minnesota. Stat of the game, number 1. It's obviously been a tough start for Chase Brown. He's not running the ball well. He's got the 5th most carries in football, but the 3rd most in between the tackles, which you maybe could say that doesn't make sense. But also, he's not running as many routes, and his target per route run rate is way down. So he was on pace for 81 catches after Zach Moss's injury last year. Chase Brown has 3 targets and 2 catches in each of his first 2 games. Do you think he's a must start this week, Jamie?
He's definitely not ranked where he usually is for me. So he's in the teens, and a little concerning, obviously, but the hope would be is that Browning will throw to him a little bit more. Not that Joe Burrow was avoiding him, but I think this could be an opportunity for him for a quarterback that may look to check down a little bit, as opposed to trying to, maybe air it out down the field. And the encouraging thing, I don't know the exact reception total, but Joe Mixon's numbers with Browning in 2023, over 18 PPR points per game. So there's a potential signs of life still to come because the workload's there, and he's still too talented to continue to struggle like this. So we'll see if this is the week he gets going. I still think Minnesota's run defense is good. Obviously, they're very beat up defensively, but for the most part, you're still starting him. I start Jordan Mason over him personally. I would start Travis Etienne over him. Just 2 guys that either opportunity or off to a good start. He's still clearly opportunity to be great, but just a little frustrating the first 2 weeks.
Would you guys start Chase Brown or T. Higgins? Let's call it PPR.
Higgins.
I have Brownhour.
Dave, Mason, or Brown for you?
Brown and PPR. He might be higher in non-PPR as well.
Let's get through the easy stuff. We'll come back to Mason. So start Chase, start Jefferson. Pretty exciting matchup of these 2 former teammates at LSU, 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. We also have 2 backup quarterbacks in this game. Of the many backup quarterbacks this week that could be playing, whether it's Mac Jones, Jake Browning, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, who's the best backup quarterback?
I'll take Mac Jones.
Browning.
Would you start Browning over Jared Goff?
Yes.
No.
Would you start Browning or Daniel Jones?
Jones.
Browning or Drake May?
May.
Browning or Russell Wilson?
Browning.
Okay. Real quick on TJ Hawkinson. Dave, I guess basically you're putting him in the top 12 just by default.
I couldn't find a tight. This sounds so silly now, and Jamie referenced it earlier in the show. I couldn't find a tight end that I liked better than him. It's basing it off of Carson Wentz's track record of finding the tight end frequently, and he did it not just in Philly when they had a bunch of good tight ends, but even in Indy and in Washington. Like the target rate to tight ends was north of 20% each time, and so I'm hoping that he leans on Hawkinson still. Focuses on getting the ball out quick when he needs to, and it'll help out Hawkinson a little bit, maybe get a few more targets. But I feel like it's more than a Jobu week for Hawkinson. Like it's going to be easy to say that. What happens when Addison comes back next week? Like there's no prayer that Hawkinson's going to be a high volume target getter for Minnesota at that point. And he just doesn't look good to begin with.
So what are your expectations for Carson Wentz?
I mean, look, he's got a great situation, and we've talked about this on various shows. You brought it up. Heath brought it up yesterday on one of our HQ segments. He hasn't played great the last couple of times we've seen him. The game with the Chiefs last year, he was playing with backups against Denver. It was a must-win game for Denver. The Chiefs had nobody out there, essentially. He played in a meaningless Week 17 game, Week 18 game for the Rams the year before. So, if that's what we want to judge him off, and he's 32 years old, I totally get it. He did not look great. But how much of being surrounded by talent and being expected to win a game does that change things? And so then you factor in it's the Bengals. I know this defense has played a little bit above its head the last couple of weeks, but it's still a defense I think that can be exposed. And hopefully a more proven quarterback, not a better quarterback at this point, but a more proven quarterback, a veteran quarterback, will understand the assignments. So that factors into Hawkinson, and it certainly factors into Judge Jefferson. Get those guys the ball. And I think that was what we'll see a little bit more than what we saw from J.J. McCarthy, who was clearly being protected by Kevin O'Connell, understandably so. In week 1, it was, let's manage the game and wait till Caleb Williams starts to make some mistakes, and then we have to let you go make a play, and that's what we saw. And he looked very good in the second half, certainly in the fourth quarter. Then last week, who knows at what point he got hurt? Who knows at what point he wasn't just frustrated, O'Connell being frustrated with his quarterback play, and it just was an absolute disaster across the board for what J.J. McCarthy looked like. So the last thing I want to see is Wentz play well enough that he puts McCarthy on the bench for the rest of the season. But I'd also like to see Wentz play well enough that it gets these other guys, gets his playmakers going. Yeah. So that's the encouraging part, I think, for Carson Wentz.
Okay. Just a couple years ago, once upon a time, Nick Mullins threw for 303, 411, and 396 yards in relief of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean,
late in the year.
It's a great system. It's a great coach and clearly great weapons.
All right, Dave, let's talk about Jordan Mason. He's the start of the week. You are not, you like him, you'll start him. You're not quite there on Jordan Mason.
He's got a great opportunity. There's no denying the matchup. It might be the best matchup that a running back could have. It's that he's a 2-down running back who is going to need really good volume and a really good rushing average to come through, and probably he's going to need a touchdown too. And he might get all those things, but racing him up, I know Heath's got him like top 10 overall in PPR. It just seems like way too much for me, like way too pricey, way too expensive, way too rich, whatever. But I do think he can be good. This is what you drafted him for, is to use him in opportunities exactly like this when Aaron Jones isn't around and he's going to get a lot of work and it's a favorable matchup. I just don't want to rank him at the ceiling. And I kind of feel like, especially in the case of Heath, I wish he was here, I could tell him this. I feel like he's ranking him beyond his ceiling, putting him as high as he has him. But if you've got him, unless you're loaded at running back, you're probably starting Jordan Mason. I would like him a lot better if the offensive line were healthier for Minnesota.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Heath. All right, let's do some questions from the chat, because Jamie has Jordan Mason 10th. Heath has him 6th at running back, but top 10 overall among all flex options, according to Dave. PPR, Jordan Mason or Ken Walker?
As of now, it's Mason. It will be Walker if Charbonnet's out.
Yep.
Mason or Jalen Warren?
Mason.
Mason or Tony Pollard?
Mason.
Higgins
or Romeo Dobbs?
Higgins.
Higgins or Dobbs? Oh, I guess we're just going off of the Jordan Mason questions now. Higgins.
Yeah, I'm just reading from the chat for this game. Chase Brown or Jalen Warren?
Chase Brown.
Still Chase Brown, but it's close.
Browning or Purdy if he plays?
Purdy.
And last one, are the DSTs in play in this game?
Minnesota still is. I would not trust the Bengals.
All right. Finish with this game. Dallas is at Chicago. Stat of the game. End zone targets. Well, I don't know if you've read the notes, but if you haven't, you can answer this trivia question. The Cowboys have 7 end zone targets this year. How many does George Pickens have of those 7?
1.
I don't know if he has any.
He has 5.
I think he has 5.
He scored a touchdown, so.
He did, yeah. He scored that touchdown, but also they keep targeting him in the end zone.
You're absolutely right.
5 of their 7. 4 of them came against the Giants. And he last year was incredibly unlucky in end zone efficiency. 15th most end zone targets among wide receivers, but he had the fewest touchdowns among the 20 wide receivers who had 11 or more end zone targets. Fewest touchdowns on those end zone targets. So it's happening again for George Pickens. Anyway, Pickens is interesting because his target share hasn't been great. So in this game, like, Dak is a must start. We love Dak. Caleb Williams is 8th for Jamie. Where is he for you, Dave?
9.
Okay. And Dak is like 4th, I think, for both of you. 5th for both. Yeah, 4th for both of you. Sorry. And he might
drop a little trivia question on you, Adam.
Yeah, 1 second. Just to make this easy, right? So
okay.
Dak and Caleb, CeeDee Lamb, obviously. I guess it's not that easy. It's not like we have a bunch of studs here. It's kind of interesting. Like, we love this game, but there are a lot of questions arising. Go ahead, give me your trivia.
All right. So if Pickens has 5 end zone targets, how many does CeeDee Lamb have?
0.
Yeah.
I know, but he's been amazing. But anyway, is Pickens a must start? Is Odunze a must start? Like, how do you rank the wide receivers after CeeDee Lamb? Why don't we start with that, Jamie?
Odunze is a must start. I would start him over T. Higgins. I'd start him over Mike Evans. I would start him over Marvin Harrison. I don't know how far you want to go with this.
That's good. That works.
He's in a great spot and clearly the go-to guy for Caleb at this point. I think this is a solid week for George Pickens. So he's in that number 2 receiver range. He's right outside the top 24, but I don't really look at it from that standpoint because there's so many good receivers. And I think this is actually a decent week for DJ Moore just because of what the expected total is and how this game could unfold. He is not a must-start receiver in a 2-receiver league, but he is a must-start receiver in a 3-receiver league still, and would not surprise me if this is his best game to date. So
would you start DJ Moore over the struggling Mike Evans, Brian Thomases of the world, AJ Brown?
No. But I would start. I'm trying to think. I start him over Ridley still. I start him over Olave. I start him over. He's right in the same mix for me, like where Pearsall is. So I think Jennings is ahead of Pearsall at this point, and he's right there in that, again, slightly behind Pickens. So borderline number 2 receiver.
Okay, how about
Jameson Williams, for example?
How about DJ Moore or Tony Pollard?
I would go with Moore in PPR.
I think I have Pollard ranked higher. I'm not as bullish on DJ Moore.
So he's his average route depth is by far a career high, and his slot rate is up 31.2% slot rate, nearly a career high there. And that's not in his career. It has not been a good thing. His yards per route run is 2 when he's not in the slot, 2 yards per route run, which is solid. 1.63 in his career when he is in the slot. So not a great profile right now for DJ Moore, but it's only 2 games. It's just noise at this point. All right. So do you like the running backs in this game? And which one do you like better, Dave Richard?
Javonte Williams, way more. Can't deny how good he's been. Can't deny his role in the passing game. If it's a competitive game or if Dallas is trailing or whatever, he's going to get targets on top of getting a lot of carries.
Yeah. Jamie, you agree?
Agree. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll get some Javonte questions in the chat, but what about DeAndre Swift? Is he still pretty close to a must start? Did I ask you Swift or Chase Brown?
Still Chase Brown.
I agree. I'd start Javonte over both.
I agree.
All right. What's wrong with Swift? Why isn't he a must start?
I think you got to look at just some of the struggles right now. Like, they're creating opportunities and he's not taking advantage of it. And so we'll see if they start to give Monangai more work. Ben Johnson seems encouraged by him. And we did not see Roshan Johnson last week despite being active. Will he get more opportunities? So this is a sort of a little bit of a discovery week for DeAndre Swift if you have him. I would put Monangai on the beat the waiver wire list just to see if there's something coming for him, especially in this matchup. So there's still, the work is still there for Swift, and the matchup is clearly solid. It's just a matter of will he take advantage of it. So number 2 running back, but I don't have as much confidence as Heath does, clearly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the case probably every week. How about Jake Ferguson? Start or sit?
Must start.
Yeah. All right. Dak threw 52 passes last week. Let's hope for 40 at least this week. Let's just hope for a shootout here. And then Caleb Williams is, as we've already talked about him, but he is 8th for Jamie and 9th for Dave, and he is 5th for Heath. So I'll see if we have any questions on this game. Pickens or McMillan? Tedero or McMillan?
I still have McMillan higher in PPR.
I will take McMillan.
Pickens, DeAndre Swift, or Jalen Warren?
It's close between Pickens and Warren for me, but I'll go Pickens. I made another trade yesterday. Traded Juwan Johnson for Jalen Warren.
Good trade.
Nice.
I like that.
Good for you.
Yeah. I have Kittle, so I picked up Johnson and Fannin. And my running backs are pretty beat up.
Big fan of that trade. DJ Moore or Jawan Jennings?
Jawan Jennings.
That's close.
Dak or Drake?
Dak.
DJ Moore or Drake London? That's got to be London.
Yep.
Pickens or Jacoby Myers?
Myers.
That's close. I'm going to take Myers over Pickens.
Caleb Williams or Baker Mayfield?
I would go Baker. If Ibuka plays, I would go Caleb if Ibuka's out.
Okay.
Sounds
Last
right.
one. 2 more, actually. Pickens or Keenan Allen?
Pickens.
Yep.
And Swift or Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt?
Swift.
I have
All right.
Swift higher.
Let's
I
go.
don't know if
to
I'm higher in non-PPR, though. I'll get you in 7 seconds.
Juwan Johnson. How about Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin, or Jake Ferguson?
Ferguson.
I have Juwan the highest of the 3. They're back-to-back in my non-PPR rankings. Swift 1 spot ahead of Krosky-Merritt. I don't know if I want to keep that, though.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. We got 5 more games to get to.
Saturday is big time and prime time. First, Bryce Underwood in Michigan in a big-time matchup against Dylan Raiola and the Huskers. Then a prime-time Apple Cup between the Huskies and Cougars.
Stat of the game from Raiders.com on Las Vegas at Washington here. Geno Smith was 0 of 12 on pass attempts of 10 or more air yards in week 2 against the Chargers. He became the first quarterback since 2016 to throw at least 10 passes of 10 or more air yards and not have a completion.
This was on Raiders.com?
Yeah. I know. It was an article of, I was trying to read about their defense because their defense really hasn't been that bad. They held the Patriots to 13 points, the Chargers to 20 points. And basically the article was like, yeah, this guy played well and this guy played well on defense. And I've completely forgotten their names because they have more or less a no-name defense, right? I mean, they don't have household names other than Crosby. But they're 14th in yards per play. They're 4th in points allowed. We'll see. And they've been good against the run so far. But as you look at this game, Dave, do you look at this as a spot where the Commanders, regardless of who their quarterback is, could have a really big game?
Where the Commanders could have a really big game?
Yeah, like do you buy the Raiders defense, or do you think this is a good matchup for
No,
Washington?
I think it's a good opportunity for the Commanders. I wish Jane Daniels were playing. I'd be much more bullish on them. But I think they'll be in control of the game. Washington will. I don't think the Raiders will do what they did to New England, for example, in week 1. And I think they lean on what they have to. And at this point, it's their rookie, Krosky-Merritt, and let him make plays. And I think he's got the speed and the elusiveness that they don't have from any of their other running backs on the roster right now. Just give him the opportunities to move the ball downfield and take pressure off of Marcus Mariota. You don't want the whole thing falling on Mariota's shoulders if you can help it.
You don't want a piece of it. You want the whole thing. Give me your thoughts on how the Commanders' backfield shakes out. What does it look like? Who's playing on passing downs? This and that.
I think it'll ultimately end up being Jeremy McNichols in 3rd down situations. We'll see a lot of Krosky-Merritt. You'll see him get an uptick in playing time and carries, of course. And Chris Rodriguez, assuming he's active, will sprinkle in, and they'll see what they've got in Rodriguez. And the more that Rodriguez does, that might make them feel comfortable. Maybe the more work he gets next week. But I think for now, Jamie used the term discovery game. I think for the Commanders, it's a discovery game for all of their running backs.
Okay. Everybody, Dave Heath, Jamie, they all have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt just outside the top 24 in full PPR, probably inside a non-PPR. When Austin Eckler was out last year, that was pretty much the only time Brian Robinson Jr. was involved in the passing game. He ran more routes. He had some catches. So I hope that trickles down to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Are you guys excited to start him this week?
Moderately. I mean, clearly there was probably, I don't know what his start percentage was last week, but there was got to be, a strong percentage of people who drafted him, excited to draft him, saw the game against the Giants in week 1, started him without hesitation. And, is the Packers defense for real? Well, you found that out pretty quickly that, yes, they are for real. So this week, it's not exactly the most scary defense, but you got to give them credit for what they've done against the run so far. I mean, it's been a pretty solid start for them in what they did against the Patriots and what they did against the Chargers. Granted, those are two teams that may struggle to run the ball all season based on what we've seen, but I think you got to be encouraged by what the Raiders' run defense looks like. So given the opportunity here, I think you're considering him a flex. I have him as a high-end flex. I think you're considering him as a number 2 running back, depending on what your backfield looks like. So I wouldn't get crazy and start him over Chase Brown, who's struggling, or maybe Kyron Williams because you're concerned about workload and their matchup. But, when you start to get to those flex questions, like I like him slightly better just with the potential opportunity, let's say, than J.K. Dobbins, who's gotten off to a good start, but those guys are back-to-back. Really the question is who's going to catch passes. And I do think one thing to keep in mind, and I'll do some research on it this week and talk to some people. Do they potentially have Chase Edmonds active and Chris Rodriguez not? And if they do, then we have something to keep an eye on. So I guess we'll find out today if that's the case because he's not a practice.
Right.
Okay. So the wide receivers, you said that Jacoby Myers is your favorite wide receiver in this game. Would that change if Jaden Daniels played?
Not at all. Myers has been great.
Yeah.
Myers is basically like top 15 receiver at this point.
One thing he's doing, though, that he's never done before is he's getting a lot of yak. So we know he's going to catch passes. The yards, though, is going to keep up because right now his yak is 6.4 yards per catch. It's usually about 3.5 yards per catch. So he's overachieving there. He's also playing in the slot a lot more. Maybe that's why he's overachieving. He's doubled his slot rate from his first 2 years in Las Vegas, going from about 30% to 60%. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to get away from him, Jacoby Myers right now. So fire him up, start Brock Bowers. I know Ashton Genty's been bad, but are you guys trusting him this week?
There are 3 running backs that just continue to slide a little bit, and it's Chase Brown because of situation and matchup to an extent, Kyron Williams because of situation and matchup for this week, and Genty. Like, he's the one rookie running back of the 4 top tier guys that you're still starting with confidence. So Hampton, not so much. Henderson, not so much. Harvey, clearly no. And Genty's the one that you hope there's going to be a big game here.
And credit to the Commanders. They made it a point in the offseason to bulk up at defensive tackle, and so far they're allowing 3 yards per carry to running backs. So it may not be a good matchup for him. Love to see him catch more passes, but I mean, I have Genty in a few leagues, and I'm obviously starting him. I'm sure he'll be started in close to 90% of leagues. Would you consider either of these quarterbacks, Geno Smith or Mariota?
I like Mariota much more than Geno Smith, and I would consider Mariota in that same range of Mac Jones and Jake Browning for sure. I mean, you have a two-game sample size in this offense where he was awesome.
He was. Yeah. He didn't even start those games. He came in as a backup. He did play terrible defenses, but he was very good. I was watching the tape last night. He threw a game-winning touchdown pass, basically at the buzzer, to Terry McLaurin in Week 18. Did not remember that. He doesn't, though, throw to his running backs much. At least that's been the trend for Mariota lately.
Perfect opportunity this week not to keep that trend going.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so McLaurin and Debo, did they crack your top 24?
No.
Debo, yes. McLaurin, no.
All right, so far, Kayshon Boutte, 103 yards. Demario Douglas caught a touchdown. Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, they both had over 60 yards and a touchdown. Ladd McConkey wasn't great, but this team's given up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. They were supposed to have a terrible secondary, according to the rankers out there, maybe the worst in football. but you guys don't have him in your top 24. But maybe Jaden Daniels plays, and that gives a boost there. I don't know what to make of Zach Ertz. He's really off to a very good start. 13 targets, 2 touchdowns. I think he caught a touchdown from Mariota in both games last year.
He definitely did against Carolina.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did against Dallas. I don't know. Maybe it came from Jaden Daniels because Daniels played a little bit in that game. But yeah, is he just like Jake Ferguson or Zach Ertz?
Ferguson, but I think you look at, this is the great or late conversation, right? That we had at the beginning of the season. Like Ferguson, Johnson, and Ertz are all top 10 tight ends for this week.
Dave, you agree?
I do.
All right. Start him up. Start him or Hawkinson. Ertz or Hawkinson?
Ertz.
Okay. Trying to find that stinking whatever. It doesn't matter if Ertz caught a touchdown last year with Mariota. Washington's DST is okay. The Raiders have been a very good matchup so far. And Washington was good in one game and bad at Green Bay. Good against the Giants, bad at Green Bay.
Gino's got 4 picks, right?
He had 3 last week.
Yeah, and 1 against Patriots.
3 plus 1.
+1. All right, I'll look that up. You talk about the next game. I'll look up 3 plus 1. Rams are at the Eagles. All right, guys. Look, we were hoping they'd throw more, right? They wouldn't be as successful rushing.
Philadelphia?
Yeah. And they haven't been as successful rushing. I mean, Barkley's doing very well, but he's not doing 2,000 yards well. And they're still throwing 22 times a game, which is basically exactly what they did after their week 5 bye when Jalen Hurts, when they decided to change the offense from that point forward through the postseason. They did not lose a single game with Jalen Hurts healthy. He averaged 22.6 pass attempts per game and still 27 fantasy points per game, but on pace for only 3,264 passing yards. So is it just 2 games, Dave, or is it a real sign of concern for A.J. Brown specifically?
I think there's concern for sure because he hasn't looked like the old A.J. Brown. And although I thought he did take steps toward looking better last week, the matchup this week, given the injuries to the corners in LA, I think it is more favorable, but it's still tough. This Rams defense is good. And so I can't help but feel like Philadelphia has found what their secret sauce is to their offense, and it's running the ball and it's dominating time and possession, and they're winning games. So why would they get away from that? It's why you can't confidently start A.J. Brown as a top 12 receiver, which is what we were drafting him as.
Ugh. How do we see this game playing out, Jamie? Such an interesting game, terrific game in the playoffs last year. Rams really had a chance to win that game. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. Totals 44.5. Do you expect a lot of fantasy points in this game?
I hope so. I mean, look, you have such great players on both sides of the ball. You have such great defenses as well, so it makes it a little challenging. And the fact that Vegas has it, at a basically low number, essentially low number. I mean, it's middle of the slate for this week, but it's not a great slate with all the backup quarterbacks. So they're not expecting, Cowboys, Bears, for example. I still think you're looking at the 2 receivers for the Rams as must starts. You're still starting Kyren Williams if you roster him. You're still starting Saquon Barkley. You're starting Jalen Hurts. It really comes down to, can you trust Matthew Stafford with all these backup quarterbacks? Where does he rank for them? For me, he's behind all of them, essentially. And can A.J. Brown and or Devontae Smith get going? And then you have the wild card of Dallas Goedert being in or out, because we know that's sort of been a little bit of a problem for Devontae Smith when he's in. So at this point, it's start both Rams receivers, start Kyren, start Saquon, start Hurts, and where everybody else sort of stacks up. But I think depending on what your roster needs are. Like all my A.J. Brown rosters, I'm still starting.
Same. Yeah. Kyren too. I mean, I can't bench Kyren, but he's getting almost no catches. So he's got another tough matchup. He's had a really tough schedule to start the year. They're going to try to work Corum in. I mean, I'm going to give you an over-under. Let's say 13 PPR fantasy points for Kyren Williams. Over-under.
Slightly under.
Under. Wow.
I mean,
number 2 running back.
Jordan Mason's a much easier call than Kyren Williams at this point.
Yes.
And obviously Ken Walker would be if Charbonnet were out. What if Charbonnet plays? Would you start Ken Walker or Kyren?
I think if we get Charbonnet missed practice but expected to play, Walker. If we get Charbonnet limited, still dealing with foot injury, expected to play, maybe Walker. Charbonnet full practice, Kyren.
If Charbonnet plays, you've got to worry about just how much work Walker gets. And so you'll take what seems like the guaranteed workload for Kyren. Charbonnet needs to be out for Walker to make a leap up my rankings.
Who do you like better, Kyren Williams or A.J. Brown?
Kyren.
Still Kyren.
So that means you don't really think A.J. Brown's going to score 13 PPR fantasy points.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's hard to expect that. Like,
right.
you just said it. From week 5 on, what did they do? They won the Super Bowl. So it's, they're tush pushing their way down the field. I mean, that's essentially what it is right now. Like, this team is boring. They are very boring.
Oh, so boring. But Dave, you brought up the Emmanuel Forbes thing earlier. Both of you guys did, right? And
yeah.
Kilo Witherspoon is out for the Rams. This could be a big help for the passing game for Philadelphia.
Sure, but it means that if Philadelphia says, "Oh, great, we're taking on Emmanuel Forbes and we've beat him up before. Let's change our offensive game plan from what's worked for us over the last calendar year to take advantage of it." Like, if they do that, then we're going to look foolish for saying that A.J. Brown isn't a must start. But I don't think they do that. They are what they are, and they know it, and they've embraced it. And even though there's calls for them to throw a little bit more, I don't know if that's enough for them to actually do it. Tack on the fact it's a first-year play caller for their offense. Hurts, and just like the overall, just like the way that they functioned in their passing game hasn't been great. How many times did we see hitch or slant routes that's it from A.J. Brown last week?
Yeah.
Here's some comments from Philadelphia this morning. This is Lane Johnson on the tush push. I'm just an employee of the Eagles. I'm told to run it. I never thought it would come to this. It's been like this the past 3 years, so we'll see. We'll see if it lives another year, another few weeks, but I'll be here. I don't know what context this is. This is Zach Berman, who covers the Eagles now for, I believe, The Athletic. Yes. So that's Lane Johnson. This is A.J. Brown, obviously a little bit more of an important thing from what we're talking about. A.J. Brown says, if I was a D coordinator, I'd probably be focused on him, meaning Saquon. It could be good for all of us, not just for me, but for all of us. On whether he pays attention to advanced data about wide receivers, A.J. Brown says, no, I don't think you guys should pay attention to that. But that's your job. I'm sorry, but I don't. I'm not an analytics guy at all. You judge what you do when you get your opportunity. That's something you can't control. If you go look at it from a data and analytics standpoint, you're going to find what you're looking for. But as wide receivers, you're judging your performance by how hard you play, how you block, and the numbers you put up. Sorry, I thought that was a better quote. Excuse me.
No,
last one, which I thought
it's the quote of the week. Yeah.
I guess I was looking for the defense coordinator one.
New segment.
There's one other thing, and that is, well, what if the Rams offense is able to move the ball and put up points like they did in the playoff game against the Eagles the last time these two teams met?
Yeah.
If they do that and they have a lead, Philadelphia is going to have no choice but to start to throw a little bit more.
So Dubby Main the G, okay, in our YouTube chat says, anyone who has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith should not be surprised they are not producing. You saw what they did last year as a team and won a Super Bowl. Why would that change this year? So let me just give you some numbers. I already told you after their week 5 bye, Jalen Hurts threw 22.6 passes per game. How did A.J. Brown do in those games? Well, if we look at week 6 through 15, because Jalen Hurts left week 16 with an injury. So just week 6 through 15, A.J. Brown was only on pace for 114 targets. However, he was on pace for 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns, 15.8 fantasy points per game. So, he is the kind of guy that can do a lot without a ton of targets. I would hope for more than 6 to 7 targets per game. But even if he gets that, he showed he can be a 1,400-yard guy and a 15.8 PPR fantasy point per game guy, which is solid. It's not great. I think what encourages me is that Jalen Hurts is averaging 5.2 yards per attempt or something like that. Something horrible. That's just not going to last. He's usually 7.5-ish.
5.6.
Well, I mean, it's the tush push, though.
No, yards per pass attempt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, all right, final thing on this game, right? Because we talked Kyren, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're not exactly must starts. Heath, by the way, has A.J. Brown in his top 8. If Dallas Goedert plays, where do you rank him and where do you rank Devontae Smith in that scenario?
Goddard would be just outside the top 12, and Devontae Smith would be mid-tier wide receiver. I'd probably drop him like 4 or 5 spots. Right now, he's like wide receiver 30.
Yep, I dropped Devontae to a low-end wide receiver 3, and Goddard would take that 12th spot in my tight end rankings in PPR over Hawkinson.
Who's the 12th man? He's the 12th man.
Who would you? I don't get that reference, but would you? All right, answer this question real quick, Jamie. Why would you start Mason over Kyron? I feel like Mason may not get close to the end zone with Carson Wentz.
I just think that the matchup is better for Jordan Mason. And you're talking about two guys that may have questions in the passing game, but this is the opportunity that you've been waiting for Jordan Mason. So if they're essentially doing the same things, one is taking on the Eagles, one is taking on the Bengals.
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, we do think he has opportunities to get in the end zone. I think it comes down to that. But would you start the DSTs in this game, Rams, Eagles?
Eagles and Vikings are very similar to me. Like, they're not great for this week by comparison to some of these streaming options, one of which was essentially the Bills in some cases. So take that into account. But the Falcons, the Seahawks, like, these are teams that have pretty solid matchups and are playing well. So if you do want to pivot, I'm okay with that.
All right, we're going to go a little faster for our last 3 games. Let's go to Carolina hosting Atlanta with A.J. Terrell out with a hamstring injury. This will be the first game he's missed in since 2022, and he's their best cornerback. Chuba Hubbard, very involved in the passing game. Chuba Hubbard has 4 to 6 targets in 7 of his last 8 games, dating back to 2024. All of them have come on first or second down, at least this year, I think. But anyway, that's very encouraging because he hasn't been running the ball great. So, Dave, starter sit Michael Penix.
Sit.
Starter sit Bijan Robinson.
Come on.
Tyler Algier. Is he a top 30 guy this week or just a prayer?
Prayer.
Would you start Penix or Jake Browning?
Browning.
Penix or Mariota?
Probably Penix.
Drake London and Tedero McMillan are easy starts, right?
Yes, McMillan for sure. London, maybe not easy because the numbers haven't been great so far, but the matchup's too favorable. And it's Drake London. He's going to get a ton of targets.
Oh, well, if it were Drake London Jr., it wouldn't be a favorable matchup as we talked about earlier. But I actually talked about it. The Panthers were not that bad against receivers until J.C. Horn got hurt last year. Drake London finished with a 40-burger against the Panthers in Week 18. But you know what? We're not going to overthink it. We liked London coming in. He had 15 targets in Week 1. Jamie, what about Mooney? What about Renfro? What about the other guys? And then I guess you can talk about Pitts.
Mooney, I would prefer to stash. 3 receiver leagues in a flex. He might be in that range as a 4th receiver on your team. Renfro, I would stash as well just to see what happens for another week because clearly this was a big game for him in Week 2 where Bryce Young threw 55 passes. So just keep that in mind when you're also factoring in Jatavion Sanders as well in terms of like streaming options. What was the last thing you asked about? Sorry.
I don't remember. Hunter
Renfro and what?
The tight ends.
Yeah, I think in the case of
Pitts
and Sanders, like Pitts, one very good game with Mooney out, one not so great game where it was the Bijan Robinson show, whatever we're calling him at this point. So Pitts is just outside the top 12 as well. I think if you've started him the first 2 weeks and you didn't get Juwan Johnson or Harold Fannin, for example, I would stick with Pitts. If you pivoted to somebody and it's, let's say, Hunter Henry or Brenton Strange, for example, I would go back to Pitts. Just hope that the Penix relationship and what we've seen from him in at least one game is a sign of things come. So it didn't play poorly last week. It just, there wasn't a lot of pass volume
then. Bryce Young, sit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Chuba Hubbard's a layup at this point. Got to start him.
Number 2 running back.
All right.
We will see though with the offensive line injuries because he hasn't exactly. You mentioned it, his work in the passing game. He has not run the ball very well yet.
Yeah. And this run defense has been good so far. Bucky Irving struggled badly. 14 carries, 37 yards. Aaron Jones had 5 for 23. Jordan Mason had 9 for 30. So they're so far, the Falcons actually are giving up the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs and the 3rd fewest receiving yards per game to running backs. But obviously it's early. But I mean, like Aaron Jones didn't have a catch. Bucky Irving had 4 catches for 8 yards and a touchdown. So far, so good. I'd say overall for the Falcons defense. But
they played much better than anybody expected by far. And
yep,
I
starts with
think
the pass rush.
We'll see with no center, no guard, how things change for Bryce Young.
Yeah, but AJ Terrell is a big loss for them. And James Pierce, their rookie edge, was injured too. I think he was limited. Would you start the Falcons DST?
Yes.
I would.
Over the Eagles Rams?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, but you don't necessarily want to drop the Eagles and Rams DSTs. Let's take a break. We got New Orleans at Seattle when we come back.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Seattle hosting New Orleans. Stat of the game, the Seahawks so far allow the third most fantasy points to running backs, but that's mostly because they're giving up a lot of receiving yards per game, and that could be good for Alvin Kamara. Dave, is Alvin Kamara a must start?
Yes.
Okay. Jordan Mason or Kamara?
Mason.
Kamara and PPR easily.
Just for fun, Ashton Genty or Kamara?
Kamara.
Okay. So are we starting a quarterback in this game? Rattler or Darnold?
No.
I don't mind Darnold, but he's not top 12.
Juwan Johnson at this point is basically a must start. He's right there with Ferguson and Ertz. He's ahead of Kyle Pitts. Kelsey or
Kelsey?
Yeah, 20 targets in 2 games.
Yeah, so Kelsey for you, Dave, or Johnson?
No, I like Juwan Johnson better.
Someone asking in the chat, Juwan Johnson or Sam Laporta?
Johnson.
I have Laporta a spot higher.
Someone asking in the chat, Bobby Boucher or Paul Crewe?
I think that I have yet to go to prison, so I'm in a much better spot.
This is the easiest starts to the question we've got all day. It's obviously Bobby Boucher, much more impactful player. And Paul Crewe wasn't even the best player on his team. Yeah, Nelly was better. Michael Irvin was better. Anyway,
I might have to disagree with you on that one though, because we saw what happened when he left the game, and it was pretty ugly. But I do make a pretty good impact, especially when Vicky Valancourt is there to give me some delicious H2O.
All right, Ken Walker would be an easy start, a must start if Charbonnet's out. What if Charbonnet's in, Dave Richard?
Low end number 2 running back.
Both of them, or just Walker?
Just Walker. You got to feel more confident in Walker after last week.
This run defense has been pretty bad. 4.84 yards per carry allowed to by the Saints, 2 opposing running backs.
It is a little skewed though, because you have a 50-yard run from Trey Benson.
That's true. That's a good point. They actually, you know what? They actually did pretty well against Connor and kept McCaffrey in check. All right, I think the wide receivers are really interesting other than JSN. JSN's a must start. But Jamie, how do you feel about Olave and Shaheed and Kupp?
All number 3 receivers. You know, the problem for Olave is the targets have been amazing. The production has been terrible. So PPR, he is in the number 3 receiver conversation. Non-and-half, I would avoid him. I mean, he's seemingly allergic to the end zone at this point. Shaheed scored a touchdown last week. Similar situation, you know, not a lot of yards at this point. So below Olave, but again, borderline number 3 receiver. Which Kupp are we going to get? We're going to get the guy in week 1 who was disappearing act. We're going to get the guy last week that was heavily involved. So for me, I'm going to split the difference. I was way out on him last week, you know, moderately encouraged going into week 1 just to see what was going to happen again as number 3 receiver. So I would start him, for example, over Jameson Williams in PPR.
Ooh. If Charbonnet plays, Ken Walker or any of these wide receivers other than JSN, obviously?
Walker.
I think I'll like Walker. I'm going to like Walker better than Kupp for sure. Better than Shaheed for sure. It's Olave I'd have to double check on.
I talked about
They're
the
back-to-back, Walker 1 spot ahead.
Okay. I talked about the yak for Chris Olave or for Jacoby Myers being much higher than usual. Chris Olave's never been a good yak guy either, but his yak per catch is 1.7 yards.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it'll be somewhere like 3.5.
Right. How about 0 explosive plays for Chris Olave? And he has 2 end zone targets on the year. 1 last week, and the pass was just thrown behind him.
Yeah.
So the timing's off just a little bit. The encouraging thing with Olave is the targets. It's why you're starting him, is because you expect him to get double-digit targets. I think it should also be said, though, Seattle's defense and their secondary especially, I thought they played pretty well last week. And the changes that the coaching staff made paid off against Pittsburgh.
But they are another team that's super beat up in the secondary. They got 2 safeties and a starting cornerback who have been, I think, missing practice each of the first 2 days of the week.
Sure. But I think they played last week without Amanwari and Witherspoon. And Witherspoon's their best corner. And they still did a nice job against the Steelers.
They did, yeah. Okay.
The Steelers, but these are the Saints.
The Saints, yeah. Seahawks defense is absolutely in play as well. And our last game is Arizona at San Francisco. Starter sit Kyler Murray.
Low end
I
starter.
want to trust him if I can help it.
I don't know if you guys remember stat of the game from last week's Arizona game, but it was that Kyler Murray had 7 carries in week 1, which would be, I think, a career high, like on a per game basis. He had 7 carries in week 2. So he's back to it. You know what, Jamie, you made a good point about the score and maybe more targets for Harrison and just more pass attempts for Kyler Murray. Because as I mentioned, they're 12th in pass rate in the first 3 quarters of the game. And then they have just been nursing big leads in the 4th quarter. So, I just think hopefully we get more volume from a team that's very slow. So far, they've been taking pretty much all of the play clock down. They're one of the slowest teams. I hate that. But, maybe this is a different game script. James Conner, you guys are kind of low on James Conner. Borderline start this week, Dave.
I don't like what I've been seeing from him as far as just speed and, movement when he's got the ball. He's scored a bunch of touchdowns, and it's made up almost 50% of the total PPR points he's had this year. So against the 49ers run defense, it's been pretty good. And certainly their track record against Connor is mostly good. I don't want to start him if I don't have to. Makes me nervous.
Bill or Connor?
I have Connor 1 spot ahead of Bill.
Connor.
All right. How about
I have
Wandale
Walker 1 spot ahead of Connor, and that's if Charbonnet plays.
Okay. Wandale Robinson in PPR or James Conner?
Still Connor.
I have Wandale higher.
Marvin Harrison Jr. or James Conner?
Harrison
Marvin.
Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. or Olave?
MHJ.
Harrison.
You guys like him?
Borderline number 2 receiver.
Yep.
Good thing is he's running fewer go routes. He's running more crossing routes, more in-breaking routes. These are the types of things we'd like to see. Bad thing is he has 11 targets on about 57 pass attempts, I believe. So that target share is still pretty low because Trey McBride is getting a lot of them. Trey McBride has 16 targets so far this year, and he is a must start. All right, Brock Purdy, if he plays, or Kyler Murray?
Purdy.
Kyler or Mac Jones?
Kyler.
Mac.
That was mostly for Dave. All right, so Dave's really trying to get away from Kyler Murray. Mac Jones scored 27.8 fantasy points last week. He had a good game.
Against the Saints.
Yeah.
Here comes Arizona with backup corners.
Yeah. Super beat up secondary. Start McCaffrey. And which 49ers wide receiver do you prefer? You both prefer Jennings?
Yes.
I bet I end up there by the time we get to Sunday. Right now, I have Pearsall ranked higher.
As a number 3.
No, both of them are number 2 wide receivers for me.
Both are number 3 for me.
I think Dave seems to be buying into the depleted secondary, good pass production kind of stuff here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. More so than
Not that I'm not. Just there's a lot of good receivers this week.
Okay.
I like them both.
See if we have any Pearsall questions here or Jennings questions or anything like that.
There's a Jennings or Jameson question.
Okay. Jennings or Jameson?
Jennings. And I love JMO.
There's a Kraft or Pearsall question.
Kraft or Pearsall? PPR.
I would take Kraft if he plays.
Kraft if he plays and he practices on Friday.
Jennings or Worthy if he plays.
Jennings.
I kind of like Worthy against the Giants.
Pearsall or Ibuka if he plays.
Ibuka.
I currently have Pearsall one spot higher.
Pearsall or sorry. You're saying something, Jamie?
No.
Oh, Pearsall or Higgins?
T.
Higgins.
But I'll take Pearsall over Jaden Higgins.
Kanish or Pierogi?
Kanish.
What's a pierogi?
Similar thing.
Well, I don't like it then because I don't like Kanish's. Kanish's are gross.
You're gross.
You-
Go eat your cinnamon raisin.
I could.
Terrible.
I can't remember the last time I've had a Kanish.
They're gross. Yeah, remember they used to sell. What did they used to sell? Arepas. Remember Arepas?
Oh, I get one every time I go to a Canes game.
Oh, they would sell these.
They are not the same thing.
No, they're not. But they look kind of similar. I feel.
No, I don't think so. I'll look and
Have a
see.
great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on the mailbag. Got a great email about. Got a
What time
great
we
email.
doing
Noon mailbag today. 12:10 p.m. Eastern time.
I don't know what kind of arepas you're eating, Adam, but they don't look like Kanish's whatsoever.
Are Kanish's like also yellow? What color is a Kanish?
It's like a roll.
They
with
do look
something
similar.
inside.
Arepas and Kanish's look similar. I
No,
stand by.
they. Oh my.
Kanish versus Arepa. Is this a Googleable thing? Oh wow, they're identical. Here, it says here they're identical twins. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you with the mailbag Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. See you later. Thanks for watching and listening.